Well, I'm kind of out of sync with the Me Too movement because I came of age 50 years ago, 60 years ago, during the 1950s when I was in my late teens and my early 20s, and I was convinced that I would die a virgin because I, I wasn't popular. I never had a date for anything. I would have traded being groped for a date for the prom, but that wasn't going to happen because I was a good student. I was a great student. I was an A-list student, but an A-list student doesn't get you on the A-list for a prom date. Now, my mother was not too helpful in this. I was not cute. I was, in fact, rather homely. I had thick glasses, and I wore braces on my teeth, and I had a bad home perm, and my mother dressed me funny. Now, her solution to the problem was, Carolyn, you don't have to know the answers to everything. You don't have to be raising your hand all the time. And besides, when you get to college, things will get better. Well, they didn't, because I still wasn't cute. I couldn't tap dance, I couldn't play the piano, and my mother was a piano teacher. I couldn't spin a baton, I was not a cheerleader. I was just a very good student. And along came homecoming, and I had no date. Now this is really sad, because my family lived about an hour's drive from the college campus, and my father felt sorry for me because I didn't have a date for homecoming, and he drove over and took me out for dinner. It was probably one of the saddest dinner dates I've ever had in my life. Poor dad, he tried so hard. Well, things did get better eventually. By the time I was a senior, I had a boyfriend. And by the spring of my senior year, within sight of graduation, I had traded the precious pearl of my virginity for a diamond engagement ring. And we had wedding plans. We were going to get married in August. The invitations were sent out. And then about 2 weeks before the wedding date, he changed his mind and he called my father. He didn't have the nerve to call me. He called my father and said, Carolyn is just a little bit too much for me. And that was the end of that. Well, I had to do some serious retooling here. I mean, what is my life going to be? I had always wanted to work in television. It was a new thing then, and I wanted to get in on the ground floor. So I went to New York, and I got a job as a secretary, typing in shorthand, and not the kind of job I wanted. But this was the day of the Mad Men, the guys on Madison Avenue who were doing their secretaries in their offices, you know, after lunch and so on. Well, they weren't doing me, and I was a secretary. It just, nothing was working. I wasn't getting groped. There was no, there was nothing. But eventually, just like in college, things worked out, and I married, and I had a family, and I got divorced, and I was single for a while, and I got remarried, and then a few years ago, my husband died, and what now? I'm going to have to retool my life now, all over again. Only things have changed. It isn't the same as it was 50 years ago. The rules have all changed. I signed up for Match, online dating, and I tried that. Well, I got really lucky because the first guy to contact me was this beautiful, silver-haired guy, movie star handsome. And it wasn't just the headshots. There were pictures of him on his motorcycle and pictures of him in a museum. He was an architect from Lincoln, Nebraska, which seemed like an odd place, but he told me that he had been originally born. He was born in Portugal, lived in California for 20 years after he came to this country, got sick of California, decided to try the Middle West, was becoming disenchanted with that, thought maybe a change of scenery might be in the works for him. Well, we talked a lot. First it was all the emails, and then there were telephone calls every day. And an emotional intimacy began to develop. And he said things to me like, you're a ray of sunshine in my life, and you are my sweet addiction. That one really got to me. Well, we began to make plans. Of course, we're going to have to meet. But before we could meet, he had a project that he had to take care of first. he was supervising the construction of a shopping center in Kuala Lumpur. I wasn't even sure where that was. I had to look it up. And he was going to be flying there, staying there for 2 or 3 weeks, getting everything set up and started on this project. And then he was going to fly into Albuquerque and meet me, and we would see where it would go from there. Well, I was very excited about this, of course. And when he left, there's a 14-hour time difference between Albuquerque and Kuala Lumpur. But we managed to have phone calls. He let me know when he got there, and he was exhausted, but he had a great meal, staying in a nice hotel, hired a translator, set up his meeting with all the foremen, all the subcontractors on this. There was just one big thing that had to be taken care of before he could kind of wrap things up and leave. All the equipment for this was being shipped in from China. And he had to go down to the dock, check it all in, make sure it was everything was there, and all ready to go. The morning that he went to the dock, I had a phone call from him. He was extremely upset. He'd gotten to the dock. Everything was there, all the huge boxes and everything had come in. But something had happened. The Chinese were supposed to pay the customs fees for all this stuff that was being shipped from China into Kuala Lumpur. They had failed to pay the fees. He was being held responsible. Well, Michael, goodness, what are you going to do about that? And he said, Carolyn, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, certainly your colleagues back in Lincoln can help you out with this. He said, I'm in private practice. I don't work for a big firm. I said, well, how about the bank? I'm the practical one. I'm offering all kinds of suggestions here. He said, I don't have that kind of cash. I've spent everything I have investing in this project. Carolyn, can you help me? Can you lend me $50,000? $50,000? Where am I going to get $50,000? I don't have $50,000. He said, but you could make arrangements with your bank, surely. I mean, you own your own home. You have access to funds. And all of a sudden, a light went on. I don't know about this. I said, Michael, I can't help you. You're going to have to do this some other way. And Michael said, I'm ruined. Only you can help me. I don't think so, Michael. I'm sorry. Hung up. Well, he called me back numerous times and, trying to persuade me, and I didn't trust him. I'll say I didn't by that time. I did not trust this guy at all. And finally, I put a block on the phone calls. I put a block on his Match account. I was embarrassed. I was hurt. And I was furious. That's it. No more of that. Then I wonder who that guy was in the pictures. Is that Michael? Well, there's some kind of an app that you can put photographs into, and I put the pictures in. Well, he is movie star handsome. That was Peter McCallum. He's an Australian movie star. I had certainly been attracted by the physical parts of it, but the rest of it, no. And, I should have seen the red flags. I didn't. But don't anybody ever call me sweet addiction again.